And what about the perceived fear that in the future robots will completely take over the human factor in the companies and take all our jobs?
Okay, so again, my opinion only. I would say that robotics doesn't mean getting rid of the people. It is just a transformation of the work into something more useful. People would instead design some new exciting products, then assemble them all day long. So that's the point. Of course, the whole thing is built on a good economy about the return of investment. So this needs to be also considered.
Mm-hmm. And we're discussing this earlier on. What, in your opinion, are the factors of modern robotics, of the advancement in the science of robotics that helps to beat all these fears, or the factors why SMEs refuse robotics?
Okay, so maybe let's talk first about the current state of the art in the robotics. Today's robots are very flexible and versatile. They can handle almost any task in the production. We are improving their senses, and they are also starting to use artificial intelligence also in industrial applications, so they are becoming more and more capable. So that's the current state of the art. And what's the advantage for the SMEs? I think it's that their programming is becoming more and more simple. So I think average high school student can do it after some basic course. So that's a very nice advantage of the current state of the robotics. Now we have several generations of industrial robots. Not all of them are useful for the SMEs, of course. One of the generation is already safe to work with humans, so it doesn't even take too much space in the environment because there are some safe restrictions about the cooperation between robot and human. However, the disadvantage of this generation of the robots is that it can handle less load. But these robots are very nice suited for typical human tasks. So they are very similar to our hands about the payload which we can take and so on. And I don't know at the current situation the segment of the production where the robot would not be used in some applications. You can see from the international statistics that more and more robots are employed in the world, and it seems that soon the population of industrial robots will reach the population of Slovakia. So there will be one Slovakia of robotics in the world. So the robotics has a very, I think, specific advantage in the production.
Speaking about return on investment, which are the segments where implementation of robotics can bring a high return on investment, in your opinion?
I think this cannot be characterized by a segment. It merely depends on the quantity of production, the robot's operation, and so on. In any case, statistics show that we have the most significant gaps and potential for robots in metal processing, in the food industry, or plastic processing. This is for the industrial robotics. Of course, there is a lot of potential in service robotics. And service robot means that the robot is not touching the product directly, but it provides some service for other robot or for the human. So that's the difference between the industrial robot and the service robot. At present, robotics, for some logical reasons, is used mostly in the automotive and electronics segment because the quantity in this production is sufficient for the effective deployment of the robotics. And robotics applications have also adapted to this because the most performed robotic operations are welding and handling or assembly of some parts. So this is very typical for automotive and electronics.
Yes, and that's speaking about the production robots, but speaking about the service robots or maybe robotics in general, we were discussing earlier that maybe there are some interesting examples, for example, like in chocolate factories or elsewhere. We could give some examples where people and ordinary SMEs and just general people like me wouldn't imagine that use of robots can be possible and can make the process more effective.
Yeah, and there are a lot of these examples also in Slovakia. One chocolate factory here in Bratislava uses delta structure of the robot, and the robot touches the chocolates and he's putting it into the boxes. So maybe you are eating some food in your home that was touched by a robot. So that's a very nice example. Maybe another very new example is that the robot is packaging some socks. So maybe you are wearing some clothes that were touched by a robot. So you don't really know what the product was produced only by humans, or there were also robots.
Great. And when we spoke about the return on investment, what is the usual time span for the return on investment when employing robots in your company?
It usually takes a year or two. This is required, but I have seen also shorter return of investments. On the other hand, I also know the companies, especially the ones which are characterized as high-tech companies, and they applied robotics even with several years of ROI. So it depends on your strategy.
And speaking about the strategy, what are, in your opinion, the three most typical prerequisites that an SME should accomplish when considering the introduction of robotics in their business?
Yeah, I think the first and the very important one is there must be a demand for your product first, but this is not only for the robotics, it is a general thing for the production. But for the robotics, if you create 2 pieces a year, it is not worthwhile to introduce robotics, of course. You can see it also with big producers of cars. For example, Volkswagen Bratislava doesn't yet produce electric cars on automated lines. They are produced manually. This is one of the reasons why concepts of collaborative robots have been created. Collaborative robots, or cobots, mean that such compliant robots are safe to work with humans in shared workplace or workspace. This is proving to be the very successful path for SMEs and implementation of robotics in SMEs. Such robot, as I said before, is a bit slower, but it works safely with people and increases the efficiency of the entire production because he is cooperating its activities with humans. On the other hand, it must be also said that robotization of production cannot be done looking at one place in production line. This must be analyzed as a whole or even within the entire factory. Speeding up one point in the production will pressure other sides, so the line needs to be balanced. It is not only to solve one place in the production. But we can do it also in virtual environment. We can prepare all the things in virtual environment, so the SME will see how it looks like when they put a robot in their production and show what effects will bring it. So we are already doing such analysis in virtual environment for some Swedish companies, and I hope so that one day this will also come to Slovakia. And we will have the experience so we can use it also for Slovak companies.